let's go ahead and talk about a couple of methods that you could use to create a working base mesh. The first one, of course, is the Z-sphere humanoid that we made in the Z-sphere tutorial. And again, if you hit A, or you go down here underneath adaptive skin, and you can turn on this preview, you'll get an adaptive skin, and of course you can change the densities. Or you can hit Shift A, and you can start sculpting the muscles using the new Z-Sketch Z-spheres. If not, go ahead and make your hit A to get that adaptive skin preview. And I usually like to leave the density at 1. And what you can do is go down here to hit make adaptive skin. You go from here, then you can start with the adaptive skin and just start sculpting on this with that same adaptive skin. And once you get to a certain point on that adaptive skin sculpt, you might see little problem areas or little areas you might want to fix or add more detail to make the mesh a little more uniform or more animation friendly. So what you could do is what I did here, and you'll end up with this mesh, which is more animation friendly and follows the geometry a little better, so you won't, like, especially around the back of the ear and stuff, and around the face lines. So as you start sculpting on this base mesh, you'll end up with a mesh that you could probably just end up baking off in Zbrush or in XNormal or whatever you want to use to bake your maps off of, and actually you could probably animate with this mesh if you wanted to. So that's one method. And let's go ahead and drop that back down to 1 here. Another method that you could use is the box modeling method, which is what I actually used to create this mesh originally. I'll go ahead and clear my canvas. And we'll grab Boxman. So here's our Boxman. And basically all he is just a bunch of, he was basically cubes to begin with, and then I, extruded out the arms, extruded out the fingers, and they're very, very simple. Just a bunch of extrusions, extruded out his face. It was a very simple Boxman. And then what I did was I actually, sculpt up to a certain point. And again, you'll start noticing that, box topology isn't all that great for animation, or, for sculpting it's all right because the geometry is usually pretty uniform. But if you'd want to retopologize it for animation or just to get the detail where you want it, here's the box topology, obviously. Again, what you can do is go and resurface that in ZBrush and then project what the working mesh you have here back through that new retopologized mesh. And then again, you'll end up with this. And of course, you can step up through here while you sculpt and end up with a nice working base mesh. So again, I could start this final sculpt from the Boxman or the Z-sphere humanoid, the adaptive skin or the unified skin, whatever I decided to make, and end up with the final creature. To save a little bit of time, though, I'm going to go ahead and use this guy's base mesh, just so I don't have to go through that last step and, save me time in the long run. So I'll go ahead and drop this down to subdivision level 1, and then I'll go ahead and delete higher. So now I got a nice, fresh base mesh to work with. If you wanted to, you could leave those details in there. And if you're going to sculpt out a creature, you can actually, as you step up, it'll maintain those details. And sometimes that's useful if you don't want to have to recreate certain landmarks and things. But I'll go ahead and start fresh for this one.